Hi there, welcome to yet another episode. If you're coming across my channel for the first time, my name is Mary. If you are a returning subscriber, as always, welcome back home. Please allow me to introduce my channel to you. Here, we do talk about family, education, teenagers, and relationships. Dear parent, and especially a parent to a teen, this message is meant for you. Look out for the following signs that are going to tell you that your teenager is doing drugs. Remember, drugs are very common and it is like they are available everywhere. And because they are available everywhere, like you cannot miss people doing drugs around the neighborhood that you are. It means that your teenager can be easily influenced to start doing drugs. So what are some of the signs that you need to be on the lookout? The first one is suddenly your teenager loses interest in activities that they really loved. Like maybe they loved playing football, going out with friends, watching movies. Suddenly you realize that they are not interested in these activities. It is like they are withdrawing. My dear parent, that is a sign that this particular child has either started doing drugs or they are deep in drugs. Look out for that sign. Let it be your number one. You may realize that you can sometimes want to invite them to do an activity or to participate in an activity with you or the family. And they're going just to give you all the excuses, and eventually they're not going to partake in this activity. And the reason is because their interest is not in what they liked. Rather, their interest is in drugs. So, dear parent, once you realize that your child is losing interest in the things that they loved, there is a problem. There is a problem. So look out, be observant. The second sign that anyone should just know there is a problem is when your teenager decides to drop all the old friends, and then they start having interest in a new group. The question that you should be asking yourself as a parent is, why is it that this particular boy or girl has decided to do away with old friends? What is it? Like, you cannot just wake up today and decide you drop all your old friends. Dropping one or two is not alarming. But if you realize that your child is no longer hanging out with people that they used to hang around with, and they've started, hanging out with a certain group that is new to you. Even sometimes you don't know where they come from, you don't know their parents, you don't know whether they go to school or not. There is a problem. And from research is that this group is gradually introducing your child to drugs, or they are using your son as a drug, your son or daughter as a drug peddler. So you should be very worried. Be very worried. As a parent, strive to ensure that you know friends, your children's friends. Tell them to invite them for dinner, lunch, and be present so that you can take your time to observe and see what is happening around. Don't just assume. Anytime your child comes to your home, or you hear that your child or your teenager is hanging out with new friends, please find out. Start by asking yourself, who are these people? Where are they coming from? When did this friendship begin? And what is it that is bringing them together? We usually say in counseling, what is the glue? What is the glue that is, bringing these people together? Because you must have a reason why you hang out with a certain group of people. And that is why we have this common cliche where we usually say, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. Because I cannot be different from my friends. The people that I hang around with are the same people that have same behaviors like me. Their thoughts, school of thoughts are just the same. And as a parent, you need to be very observant and ask yourself, where are these people coming from? And what is this thing that is bonding them? And especially in teenagers, what is it? And one of the common things that research has come up with is that most teenagers usually get that close or intimate relationship with new friends because of drugs. Watch out. The third symptom, or if you want, the third sign that you should look out for is change in emotions. Remember here, people are doing drugs. And you know what drugs can do to a person? Sometimes they can make you become very emotional. You can find a person being very aggressive. A teenager is very, very aggressive. Like if it's in school, if they do any mistake and they are corrected by their teacher, they become very aggressive. And I've seen this in boys' schools. Once I saw of a boy who was doing drugs, and when the teacher tried to punish the boy stood up and started attacking the teacher. And we came to realize that this boy was doing drugs. And that is why suddenly they had become aggressive. You may find that your child was very obedient, very quiet, calm, organized, and then suddenly they change. You ask them to do a simple task and they become very infuriated, very angry at you. When you just look at their facial expression, when you hear the tone of their voice, when you look at the body language, you just see aggressiveness, like a person wants to attack you. There is a problem, dear parent. That teenager is automatically doing drugs. And that is why they have that confidence, like 101, just to be very aggressive, very angry towards you. The other behavior that's still on this, change in the emotional behavior. You may find that your teenager does not want even to share their bedroom with their siblings. You find that if maybe one of the siblings touches something that belongs to them, they are very fast to hit them, to punish them. And sometimes even their language is vulgar, very vulgar. It is like they are not okay mentally. If you see that, my dear parent, that child is doing drugs. That child is doing drugs. If not, they are not deep in drugs. It is either they are just at the baby steps, they have been introduced to drugs, or they are already deeper in drugs. And one thing that happens when teenagers start doing drugs, there's something that is obvious. Whoever is supplying drugs to them will eventually recruit them to become peddlers. If you go to the Kenyan coast, you're going to see that most teenagers are doing drugs and selling drugs at the same time. Therefore, dear parent, what are we going to do? It is just being observant. As much as we are busy. There's a video that I did about bonding, and then there's another one that I talked about parenting in general. And I emphasized on you as a parent, creating time for your children. Do not delegate so much for, like your responsibilities to another person. Don't do that. Try as much as you can and ensure that you're part and parcel of your child's life. So that if there is any change, you can observe. Sometimes these teenagers, when we leave them out with caregivers like nannies, do you know what they do? They bribe them, give them money, and tell them just to shut up. Most of the time you may think that your teenager has spent the whole day at home. But the truth is, once you went to work, they left. And they know very well when you always come back home. Surprise them once in a while. Let it not be like it is a routine that every time you are getting out of home at around 8 and you're coming back at 6. They are going to mess around in between. And one of the common thing, especially nowadays, is drugs. Drugs are available everywhere, everywhere. There's no street in any town that you will walk in that you will miss out a person who is selling drugs. And especially this drug that is called Jaba, Kuber, it is very common. And nowadays in schools, it is commonly used with most of the teenagers. And remember, today our conversation is not just on any specific gender. We are talking about teenagers. I have seen girls that do drugs, that smoke bangi. I've seen girls that do cocaine, heroin. I have seen girls, and remember girls, I'm talking about teenagers. I've seen teenagers that take Kuber, Jabba, and all that. And they're just teenagers. So, as a parent, you may lose out your child because of your absence. So please be present. Finally, in fact, the list is endless, but I only came up with 4. You can add in the comment section other signs that a person can just look out for. So finally is, if you notice the following signs, then that particular child is doing drugs. Lose in weight. Suddenly their weight drops. Let's say, for example, your teen was around 50 kilograms. Suddenly you realize that they look like 20 kgs. There is a problem. And number one problem is drugs. Because when someone starts doing drugs, they don't eat. Most of the time they are intoxicated. So they don't actually like value taking meals. Like, it is not that important. And because it isn't important, they'll keep on doing drugs. They become high. Once the drugs get out of the system, they recharge by taking more drugs. And in the process, because they're not eating, they're not taking they're not just concerned about the diet and all that, they'll end up losing a lot of weight. If you see that your daughter who is a teenager or your son who is a teenager is gradually losing weight, be on the lookout. Be on the lookout. Something is not right. The other thing is, and this one is very common with boys. So if you are watching me and you have a teenager who is a boy, look out for this sign. Nose bleeding. Nose bleeding that was not there. Your child has never had this problem previously. But it reaches a point at teenagehood and they start nose bleeding. That child is deep into drugs. I saw a boy in one of the schools that I taught in the past. I'll not mention the name of the school. So this boy started nose bleeding at Form 3. And it was like, it is something that would happen like thrice a week. Only for the teachers to come and realize later on the boy was doing drugs. And anytime he would start nose bleeding, they would just do first aid and let him rest. Because the boy was deep into drugs and there's nothing that the teachers could do other than the parent taking the boy for rehabilitation. And remember, I've said, if you are a parent to a teen boy, look out for this sign. Most of the people who do take Kuber, smoke marijuana, or if you want bang, most of them nosebleed. And it's because of the effect of the drug. So look out. Once you realize that your son has started nosebleeding, you may take them to hospital. Maybe it could be another underlying cause. Find out. And again, start observing. Be very vigilant. Check out their rooms. Most of the teenagers that do drugs, they are always dirty. They don't have time for hygiene. That is automatic. Where are they going to get the time for hygiene? Check out. Go to their bedrooms, turn their beds upside down. I don't know whether you'll agree with me in this, but you need to do something. And how will you find out? Check out the places that they hang out. Who are these friends? So that you know what your child is up to. And then finally, still on the signs that you can just check out is watery eyes. Once you realize that your teenager has suddenly developed watery eyes and they don't have any eye issue, that is an automatic sign that that child is doing drugs. It is very common. People that do drugs, their eyes are watery. Very watery. That one, just look around and you're not going to miss out. Therefore, my dear parent, we need to do a lot. We need to save our teenagers. Because if we don't save them at teenagehood, then we are losing it as parents. We are losing it. Let nobody teach you that money is important as compared to your own children. It's not. as much as it is a necessity, because we need to take them to school, buy clothes, give them shelter and everything that they need. But their welfare should be number one. And that is why here in my channel, I always emphasize that as a parent, ensure that at least you do your best to be present. You do your best to create a relationship with your teenager. Let me tell you something. When you have them below 10 years, they are always sweet. I have friends that always tell me that I should take advantage of all this time before my kids hit teenagehood. And I agree with them. So before they get to teenagehood, they are very sweet. Number one, they adore you. They will listen to you. They'll always be all over you. But once they hit teenagehood, it is like they are in a roller coaster. Things are changing gradually. A child who was very fond of you suddenly creates a wall. It is like they block you. And what are you going to do as a parent? It is you to ensure that you do something to ensure that you bring them close to you. So dear parent, don't forget that drugs are very, very common nowadays. Very common, readily available. It is your responsibility to ensure that you take care of your teenager. Look out for these signs. They are very crucial. Look out for these signs. And especially now, like in Kenya, we are breaking school, going for school holiday for around 3 weeks. Don't just let your children be at home and you as a parent, you are just out. You go at work, you come back home very late, like even you don't know what is happening around them. I would wish to advise parents, if you can, try as much as possible when your children are at home, you get some off days just to spend time with them if it is possible. I understand we have different organizations and they have different structures and all that, but if you really want to learn your teenagers, try as much as possible. Get some days off, 2 or 3. It is going to be very helpful. It is going to save your teenager. Dear parent, I do hope you find this video informative. If you have other signs, feel free to drop in the comment section. Remember to like this video, share, and just reach out. What else would you want me to talk about? I'm here. Let us learn together. Let us save this generation. If you're coming across this channel for the first time and you like what I'm doing, please consider subscribing. Thank you so much for your time and goodbye.